How can you keep your valuable photographs from getting stolen online? I'm going to talk about it on today's episode of
Ask David Bergman.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Here I am, as always, answering your photography questions. Don't forget to go to AskDavidBergman.com, fill out the form on that site with your photo question, and I just might pick it to answer here on a future show. If you've got a very specific question, something just for your scenario, maybe a new piece of gear that you bought that you don't know how to use, which gear to buy, how to do something specific, or if you're having a business problem or question about how to improve your photography, or just want an image critique, I do offer one-on-one consultations over Zoom. You can also check that out at AskDavidBergman.com. Lastly, I hope you're a subscriber already to the Adorama YouTube channel. If not, go ahead and click that button down below. Use the little bell icon. You'll be notified as soon as new photo shows come out all week long. All right, today I've got a question sent in by Robert S., and he wants to know, it seems so easy for people to steal images that you post online. How can you protect them? Boy, this is a great question because it's something that all artists deal with. Photographers have been dealing with people stealing their images since the internet really came to be, and it really has gotten very easy for people to grab images and use them how they want. So how do you protect yourself as an artist? Well, the law is very clear, at least here in the United States. You have the right to control the use of your work unless you explicitly give that right away. Now, I'm going to talk about copyright in a few minutes, but the bottom line is that in most cases, taking someone else's work and using it for yourself is illegal. It's really not much different than breaking into their house and stealing their television set. The problem is anything online can be copied. Digital has made it super easy. Most websites allow you to save images with a simple right click. If they don't, you can always take a screenshot. But there are some things you can do as a photographer to deter, prevent, and even protect your precious images. The first one is watermarks. Now, watermarking is, for our purposes, what we're talking about is it's putting your name or logo onto your digital image so that anyone who sees that picture knows who took the image. Now, there are a lot of opinions out there about whether you should put a watermark on your image or not, and it's really going to be up to you. But here are the options. If you put a big watermark over your image, probably no one's going to copy it. That's absolutely going to protect it, but it kind of ruins the photograph, right? If you got a big copyright symbol over the middle of the image, that nobody's going to enjoy that image in the first place, which is kind of the whole point of putting the image out there. Now, conversely, if you put something really small on your image, maybe down at the bottom in small type, it's really easy to crop out or clone that out. So it doesn't offer as much protection. The decision at the end of the day is really going to depend on where the image is going, where it's going to be used, and how important the protection is for that particular image. I'll give you an example out of my own career. For my music clients, they want to put the image on their socials and they want people to share them. That's kind of the whole point. It's all about getting publicity. So I'm compensated well enough by those clients to make it worth me not putting on a watermark, although they usually give me photo credit in the post. Now, if a fan shares that post, that's not really any lost revenue for me since they were never really going to be a paying client. The artist is my paying client. So it's nice if the fans add the photo credit on there. That's always appreciated, but it doesn't happen a lot of times. But again, I'm compensated enough for that to be worth that image being shared. Now, if I post a newsworthy image, let's say somebody famous passes away and I have a unique photo of them from earlier in their career, and I'd like to license that image for money, to the news sites or for other usages, then I'm going to go ahead and put my name and website down at the bottom of the frame so that potential clients can find me. That's kind of the idea, is I want them to be able to find me so that they can then license that image and I can continue to make a living as a photographer. Now, there are some new technologies that embed invisible watermarks, and you can do things like put other, invisible layers on top of your photographs and things like that. But there are always ways around just about everything. It's kind of a cat and mouse game on, the technology end. You really have to decide for yourself if and when it makes sense to watermark your images. Now, the next thing that you can do to try to provide some protection is metadata. Now, most digital file formats, including JPEG, which is the most common, allow you to embed text information into the file. This is called IPTC Metadata and has been standardized so that many programs can read it. You can write it and read it. Now, you can pretty much put anything in there that you want. Traditionally, you put your name and your contact info, copyright information, maybe identifying information about the photograph, like who, what, where, when, why, information about model and property releases if you have them, and on and on. And really anything that's relevant to that image. I use a fantastic program called Photo Mechanic. I've been using it for 20-something years to cull through my images before I do my raw conversions. And it has a really full-featured IPTC editor, so I can quickly and easily embed all of the data that I want into individual images and also into big batches of images. You can also edit metadata in the file info section in Photoshop if that's the program you want to use to do that. Now, the good news is that the metadata is going to stay with the original image file forever. So in theory, you should always be able to prove that the image is yours if there's ever a dispute. The bad news is that many sites, including most popular social media apps, actually strip that metadata out when you post the image. I think they did that in the early days because they were trying to shrink file sizes down for slow internet and high bandwidth costs. But today, the extra few bits of data is really worth it to help protect photographers' rights. Professional photography organizations have been lobbying to make this change for years, but so far, no luck. At least I know that if I send an image to a client or to a photo agency, for example, that metadata is going to stay with that file and legit users can find me when they need to. The next thing you can do is copyright, right? In the United States, copyright is a powerful tool that anyone who creates something has at their disposal. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and you should definitely consult one if you're having any kind of an issue. But really, the main thing to understand is that unless you explicitly sign something that gives it away, the person who pushes the button on the camera owns the copyright to that image. Doesn't matter who set up the photo, who owns the camera. It doesn't matter any of that, right? Unless you sign it away, the person who if you hand your camera to a friend and say, hey, take a picture of me, they own the copyright to that image. Every image taken in the US, at least initially, has a copyright that is owned by someone. It drives me nuts when people say, oh, I didn't know that image had a copyright, because they all do for the most part. Now, copyright does expire after a certain amount of time. As a general rule, for anything created after January 1st, 1978, copyright protection lasts for the life of the author plus an additional 70 years. So a very long time. Now, again, I'm not giving legal advice, so don't take my word for it, but just assume that everything is protected by copyright unless you really know otherwise about that particular image. Going back to watermarks, for example, how copyright can help you. If someone crops off that watermark and uses the image illegally and gets caught, then it's potentially a much stronger legal case in court because they knowingly cut off that watermark. And that is a much stronger infringement than if they didn't do that. Now, actually registering your copyright with the Library of Congress adds an extra level of legal protection. And if you ever really have an issue, you better have that image registered. But that is a whole nother video we'll probably get into at another time. One more thing you can do to protect yourself is don't post high-res images online. Now, since photos are usually viewed small online, there's really no reason to post the full resolution photo since it's just going to be shrunk down for viewing anyway. I personally try to never share images more than 1,200, 1,500, maybe even 2,000 pixels or so on the longest edge. That's still pretty big, but it depends how it's going to be used, of course. There are a lot of programs, including Photoshop, that'll resize your images for you so you can post smaller files. Of course, technology has made it easier for thieves to take smaller files and make them bigger, but it's never going to be quite the same as the original high-res image. Just keep those high-reses for your own use if possible. Now look, all of these things, watermarks, metadata, copyright, and only using low-res files, on their own, they're not going to keep anyone from stealing your images if they really want to. Just like an alarm on your front door won't stop someone from breaking in through the garage, right? But all of those things put together should help to deter, prevent, and protect your images as much as you possibly can. The only way to guarantee your images won't be stolen is to not put them online at all. And what's really the fun in that? So thanks so much for joining me. If you like this video, click like below. What do you think? Hit me up in the comments below. Are there other ways that you can protect yourself? Are there things you're doing to protect your images? Also, remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Keep those photo questions coming. AskDavidBergman.com is the place to do that. And I'll be back here next Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern with a brand new question. Thanks for joining me right here on Ask David Bergman.